YouTube, how's it going? And welcome to the Goat House. Weird saying that, but it's a new channel name. We're pretty excited about it. More fitting to the channel and still unique at the same time. So, yeah, excited about our future here, the Goat House. But today, I have an updated mock draft, and I've had quite a few of these, but this one's different. Much different and very important that you guys understand that it's different. It is a GM mock. Who would I pick? What would I do? Playing GM for every single team. So this is not predicting the pick. I think some of these teams could take these guys, and I think these guys fit, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be taking them for them, but I want everybody to understand it's much different. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen at all. So normally we do the predict the pick mocks. The next one, which will be in the near future once we have the official draft order, will be 2 rounds, and we'll probably get up to 3 rounds and maybe on. And we'll also do team by team 7-round mocks in the near future too. We did that last year. Lots of fun. But we had Super Bowl coverage during this week. We will during the live stream this week on Friday. And then going forward, free agency and draft coverage. My favorite time of the year, the offseason. I love football, but the offseason seems to be very exciting. You don't know what you're going to get. Love predicting. Love talking about the draft. So can't wait for this offseason to get started. Right before we get into these picks and the mock, follow our Twitter. Same Twitter, but the handle has changed. It's at the Goat House YT. So check it out. There's a link. There's always a link in the description. I'm calling the Twitter the Draft House, though. Hopefully it doesn't get too confusing during draft season. So that's our Twitter handle. Link in the description. Our Instagram's going to get going, too. So there's a link in the description for that. Go check it out. But let's get into this mock finally. So I'll explain all these. If I'm the Cardinals picking one, right now I'm taking Quinnen Williams, defensive lineman, Alabama. And I'm not saying he's the best player in the draft. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. We'll get to my big board and position rankings when they're ready to come out. I'm not a fan of doing those multiple times. I think there's really should be one set thing. In the combine and more tape evaluation, all that changes things. So I think the top 3 guys are actually the top 3 picks here. Quinnen Williams, Josh Allen, Nick Bosa. Those guys are at the top for me. I'm not going to say who's my 1, 2, and 3 until it's official for me, but those guys are for sure at the top. And for the Cardinals' sake here, they bring in Vance Joseph, projected to switch to a 3-4 defense. And what I look at here is they have Chandler Jones, and I think he can play that outside linebacker spot in 3-4. Something interesting, not that I think they're going to do it, but Hassan Reddick, I think the Cardinals ruined, really, and it's really early to say they officially ruined him, but I thought he was an edge rusher, and I had him graded pretty high as an edge rusher, and they moved him to like more of an inside linebacker. I think he played strong side this past year, so maybe you can move him back to in the 3-4 back to the outside linebacker. I doubt it happens, and you can pair Jones with Reddick, and then get Quinnen Williams as your 3-4 end, who also can slide inside there on the D line. It makes a lot of sense to me. They would most likely need another pass rusher outside of Chandler Jones, so you could consider Josh Allen. Quinnen Williams can just do so much, and he fits this team to me. So that's why I went with Quinnen Williams. But it could be Josh Allen, could be Nick Bosa. But if they are switching to a 3-4, I think Nick Bosa is strictly a 4-3 defensive end. Something you could play 3-4 end or 3-4 outside linebacker, which normally you can. Bradley Chubb made that transition, which people doubted him in that. So he can, but I see Williams or Josh Allen as more of a fit if they indeed do that. So I'm taking Quinnen Williams with the first pick. Again, just considering Josh Allen, this is kind of a rough draft here. We're going to get my final evaluations and where I actually rank guys in the near future. Still got a process to go through here. Josh Allen will be picked 2. The Niners currently in a 4-3. I think they have the personnel to play a 3-4. That's just what I see. Solomon Thomas has been very disappointing. I think he's a 3-4 end, always did. He's playing a 4-3 end. I think Buckner is more of a 3-4 end, even though he's playing, fine the way he is, but it's mainly in the pass rush. So I think they can have Thomas and Buckner as the ends, and you start to build, those edge rushers. If you get Josh Allen, I would think Cassius Marsh, who I think is better than people think, and Josh Allen. So I think that would be a solid outside linebacker group there. Josh Allen, could be a speed rusher. That's the way the NFL is heading too. Very athletic speed rusher. I think he can play 4-3 end, but most likely a 3-4 outside linebacker. I think it can make sense in this Niners defense either way. If you want to stay to the 4-3, 3-4, Josh Allen's just that exciting. Again, the way the NFL is heading, the athletic guys are on the field more, dominating more. So I like Josh Allen a lot for those reasons. The Jets take Nick Bosa then. No brainer here. Best guy available. They get Greg Williams in there to run the defense, so they're actually switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3. A lot of switches here, or potential switches. So Nick Bosa fits that instantly, and he's a day one starter, maybe your best player on defense. You got a couple good ones there, though, so build that defense up. Raiders take Ed Oliver. Too good to pass. I'm pretty high. I said those top three were kind of in their own category, but I think Ed Oliver would be next. D lineman, most likely in the Raiders defense would be a D tackle there. If he went to a 3-4 would probably be the D end. He can move around a lot, very athletic, but strong at the same time. I think Ed Oliver is too good to pass up, and almost anything's a need for the Raiders, almost anything. So again, not predicting the pick here with any of these. This is just what I would do at the moment. A lot will change. Buccaneers, I like Clelin Ferrell, defense end, Clemson. I think people are really sleeping on Clelin Ferrell just because he's not the most athletic guy, but he's proven it, every single, not just year, every game that he can play. He's smart. He's strong, for his size. He's got some athleticism in him. I think the Buccaneers, more defensive switches here. They actually got the Jets defense coordinator and Todd Bowles. So I think they switched to a 3-4, which I think fits a lot of the other guys currently better. I think Vita Vea can play that nose. I like Ferrell playing the end, 3-4 end. He's been a 4-3 end, so most likely that's where he'll be. That's a team he'll end up on. But here I'm thinking outside the box. I'm giving him a chance at 3-4 end because he's highly, he's very talented. And, you don't have to rely on his athleticism all that much if you're worried about it, if you're putting him at 3-4 end. I could compare him a little bit to Bradley Chubb. He's not quite the prospect, but very good. And Bradley Chubb, I thought would be, and a lot of people would thought was strictly a 4-3 end, but could play a 3-4 end. He actually gets moved outside linebacker, and he was pretty good there. So not saying Ferrell can't do it, but Chubb's a little more athletic than Ferrell. I like him at the end spot, and you really don't have to worry about his athleticism, which I think he has some for his size and strength. At pick 6, I got the Giants going Cody Ford, offensive lineman, Oklahoma. Now, people will probably get mad at me for the quarterback thing here. I don't know if there's a quarterback worthy of taking 6. You probably already see that I have one going 7. I don't know if it's worth going there at 7. But at 6, my thinking is for the Giants here, you get your team ready for your quarterback of the future. The Giants actually could be, even with Eli, they could be a surprise team and be pretty solid next year because Eli actually started to play a little better towards the end of the season, wasn't terrible. Maybe he put his team out of the reach of the playoffs early on with his terrible play, but he also had terrible protection. Defense didn't play all that good. You can get better here in the draft, and you can get better for your quarterback in the future. What I noticed was a problem with the Giants was, and I said it before the year started, that the left side of the line will be okay. It's not going to be beautiful, but the right side of the line is the big problem. Big problem, and it was. Cody Ford is an instant right tackle, at worst, instant starting left or right guard. In this scenario, right guard. So that's why I like Cody Ford a lot. I think you play him at right tackle right away. Worst case scenario, again, you put him at right guard. You strengthen up that right side. Help Eli out. He'll play better because of this. Saquon is going to help Eli play better in another year with him. The receivers being back. Whoever else you get in this draft will help him. Whoever you get in free agency will help him. They're not going to go win the Super Bowl, but then you get the pieces around your quarterback, make sure it's set, and then next year you can afford to trade up and get your guy. Even if you don't get that great pick, you can trade up. And that teams that are able to do that and have success doing that, that's why, because they get the pieces beforehand. It makes a lot of sense here, especially with no quarterback really worth pick 6. I do have the Jags taking one at 7. Oh, I also like to mention the Giants could look to free agency to get another one too. The Jags at 7. We expect the Jags to maybe make a push for Nick Foles. It makes a lot of sense. He fits. DeFilippo's there. But they have a cap situation right now. Yeah, you can fix that cap, but right now it looks like they will look to the draft as quarterback. And if I'm sitting there, it's more likely. I think Drew Lock is actually maybe the more pro-ready quarterback. The Jags can still compete, so you want to look for the more pro-ready one. I think Drew Lock fits a little better than Haskins. I do have a battle up there. I'm back and forth on Lock. Haskins, my number 1 QB. I'm higher on Lock than most. I kind of have been for a while. Since last year, I really liked him. Problem with Haskins is, you don't have too much tape on him because, doesn't have as much experience as a guy like a Lock. And, really the first half of the year or majority of the year, he was good, but wasn't really NFL good. As soon as after that Purdue game is where he started to get that NFL, getting recognized for the NFL. So what are we going to get from Haskins? So, it scares me a little bit is what I'm saying. So right here, the Jags don't really need too much else, too. Unlike the Giants, I think they can build for their quarterback. And the Jags got to go get their quarterback. Their line didn't play all that great last year, but it was beat up. Receiver unit didn't play all that great, but played pretty good 2 years ago. And they got some young guys that you expect are going to keep stepping up. So you could go that route. Linebacker unit didn't play all that great, but you have confidence in those guys, big name guys there. Possibly safety they could use, but pick 7's too early. Do have Ronnie Harrison should step up even more. He was pretty solid. So I like Drew Lock. Pick 8, the Lions. I actually had this in my last predictive pick, and I stuck with it for what I would do. Montez Sweat, I think it's a perfect fit. I think they'll lose Ziggy Ansah, and I think it's okay that they lose him. He keeps getting hurt, and when he's in, he doesn't really look the same. So I think Montez Sweat's actually an upgrade. Maybe not instantly, obviously, but... And then with Matt Patricia there, I think it makes a lot of sense. He's going to want to work with a guy like this. It makes a lot of sense. I talk about him a lot, how he's a freak athlete. He has a 7-foot wingspan. It's something you can work with. With the right coach, you can teach him to use that to the best of ability. That's crazy high potential there. And he was already good, too. He already produced what he needed to do. He didn't get a Josh Allen number of sacks, but he got a good amount of – he had a good production. So it makes a lot of sense here. It's a fit. I like that pick at 8 for the Lions. Moving on to pick 9, the Bills. I do like Cody Ford for the Bills because they need to strengthen up that right side there, the line. Make sure Josh Allen's protected. But another guy that actually might be higher on my board than Cody Ford is my favorite receiver in this draft is N'Keal Harry, wide receiver from Arizona State. You just don't see a receiver like this every draft class. There's a couple you actually can say about it from this draft class. Very good wide receiver class. The Bills could use a guy like this. Yeah, Foster stepped up. Zay Jones could step up. But you don't have N'Keal Harry on your team. N'Keal Harry is instantly your number 1. Can do a lot of things. They can compare with Josh Allen very well. I would love to be in that office and make this pick here. That makes a lot of sense to me. People are a little scared to take receivers this early these days, but it's a damn good receiver and damn good receiver class. Broncos at 10, take Devin White, linebacker, LSU. If I'm in that front office, I got a lot of trust in my coach, in Fangio, what he did with the Bears defense, and I know he's going to love Devin White, and I know I already love Devin White. Definitely higher than 10 on my big board. High motor, play recognition's there. Guy flies around the field and makes plays. You don't see him mess up a lot. The Broncos' biggest need probably isn't linebacker, but he comes in, he plays right away. This is a Vic Fangio guy, and if I'm in the front office, again, I already like Devin White, but I'm kind of trusting what he thinks, and maybe we don't know what he thinks about Devin White, but I am very confident that he'll like him. We'll see if he's there, and we'll see if they go that route or go quarterback route. I do like Drew Lock for the Broncos, but I have him gone. For Haskins, I do like Haskins, but I do like Keenum at the same time, and the Keenum just led a team that didn't make the playoffs this year to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago, and the Broncos got some rising talent on that roster. So I may give Keenum another shot. I do like Lock fitting in there, though. Bengals, I got them taking Dwayne Haskins. Too good to pass at this point, and I think they could use a quarterback for the future. Dalton's been solid, but he just can't get you that. Can't really take the next step. The way the league's changing, too, I think Haskins makes a lot of sense in that offense with those receivers and really the whole group. It just makes a lot of sense to me, so why not here? The Packers take Rashawn Gary at 12, too good to pass, and I think he fits right in at that defensive end. They play a 3-4. People have been talking about, was Rashawn Gary going to be a 4-3 end, a 3-4 end, 4-3 D tackle? Good thing is he can play all those. I think some people have been, calling him an edge rusher. I can see it, but I think a 3-4 end makes more sense to me. He doesn't really have the athletic ability that some of the other edge rushers have. But he's very good, and people worry about him because of his lack of production and getting hurt. Well, if you actually go back and watch, he was actually doubled, and I've seen him be triple teamed at times. So teams feared him that much. With other NFL talent around him, opens things up for other guys. It did for Michigan, too. So the Packers could use it. They need pass rush, but they need a DN, too, at the same time. Makes too much sense here for me. Dolphins take Jeffrey Simmons, D-lineman, Mississippi State. Dolphins could use a number of things, could use a quarterback. I don't know if they take a quarterback at 13. In my opinion, me playing GM in this situation, there's no quarterback worth 13 that really fits my offense at the same time. So I'll take Jeffrey Simmons, best available. It's kind of been a while since they had solid interior D linemen. Recent news with Simmons can't go to the combine because of a pass situation. I'm not too worried about it. From what I heard, it's cleared up. Seems like teams are okay with him, but he doesn't really need. It's not a guy that really needs the combine. He's not an athletic freak, so it'll be okay. The Dolphins can use a guy like this. They could use a number of things, even though I do think highly of some of their position groups. Falcons take Christian Wilkins, defensive lineman, Clemson. Been dominant his whole career. Another Clemson guy I feel like gets slept on. People are still sleeping on these Clemson guys for some reason. Falcons could lose Grady Jarrett, who's a Clemson guy actually, and even if they don't lose him, I still think they can use another guy like this. And then Wilkins is, definitely a plug-and-play talent here at pick 14. Redskins pick DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Too good to pass. I'm very high on this whole receiver group. I like DK Metcalf. I like N'Keal Harry as my receiver 1, but I like DK almost as much as N'Keal Harry here. Freakish talent. You do worry about his route tree, but I think it's something you can work on. Freak athlete, freak talent. Redskins they're desperate for a wide receiver. Yeah, they may be desperate for a quarterback, but I don't like one for them here at 15. I just don't like if I'm in that office. I take a receiver that you're not reaching for at all. I think he's worthy of this pick, and I think he can play for you and help who your future quarterback will be for a long time. Maybe it's Alex Smith after he comes back in another year. Pick 16, Panthers go TJ Hockenson, tight end, Iowa. I actually had this in my most recent predict the pick video as well. I like this pick a lot. Hawkinson's been my number 1 tight end for a while. Can really do it all. Every down tight end, can block, can catch. Can actually see him run out of the backfield and run after he has the ball too. Run after catch. Make people miss, break tackles. He's the real deal. He can go downfield too. I think the Panthers kind of missed that when Greg Olsen was healthy and in his prime. The Panthers were much more dominant. Yeah, I know they have a couple other tight ends that can play. Not trying to knock those guys. But when you can get better, you go get better. And they could use a pass rusher too, but I think Hockenson is well worth the pick here. He's definitely, I have him at 16. He's definitely in the top 16 on my big board as of now. So I like that pick a lot. Makes a lot of sense. Pick 17, another one I actually kept the same for predicted pick. It just makes sense to me. I also think it can happen. The ones that are staying the same, obviously I think they can happen, and I would do it at the same time. Not a lot of them are really staying the same, but some of them. Obviously he can play with Baker. Came from the same offense, so that makes a lot of sense. They have a couple of free agent wide receivers. They don't really have a bunch of needs. They just got a bunch of guys that need to develop, and they are developing already, but could continue to develop. So Marquise Brown could help out there. They could use an interior guy in the D line, but those are some of the guys that could develop. So they got a lot of talent, not a whole bunch of needs, which is crazy to say about the Browns. The Vikings take Jonah Williams, offensive lineman, Alabama. Yeah, too good to pass. I had him falling. Some people are split on him. Some people have him top 10, maybe even top 5, and some people say he can actually drop to the later part of the first round, maybe even second round. With him sitting on the board here, it's a no-brainer for the Vikings. He can play tackle, play guard for them, whatever they need. They need offensive linemen, pretty obvious. Titans go Ja'Kai Polite, edge rusher from Florida. I like Polite a lot. Freakish athlete off the edge. Sometimes sometimes you're wowed by what you see, and sometimes you're like, oh, he needs to work on that, or he'll get blocked, and run plays on the inside. So he kind of really wants to go outside a lot, which is okay, and I think he would play the outside linebacker spot for the Titans, pair him with Harold Landry. Pretty scary. They could use a receiver, could use a defensive lineman as well, but this is what I would like to see if I'm in the front office in this situation. Steelers go Devin Bush, could use a linebacker, well worth the pick. Not far off from Devin White and the things he's able to do. Seahawks go Greedy Williams. Yeah, my first corner's off the board at 21. I like these corners, but I guess I'm just not as high on them as everyone else is. They're pretty good, but I think this is more their range where they're going to go higher in this. But, I think later teens up to here is really where they should go. As of now, things can change with the Seahawks. Maybe too good to pass at this point. Ravens go Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, South Carolina. At the moment, I do have one more receiver ranked ahead of Deebo Samuel, but I think Samuel is the one that fits with the Ravens more with Lamar Jackson. Makes a lot of sense. Samuel can do a lot. He pretty much can do anything. I think he fits that offense a little more. I think they're pretty desperate for a receiver, and I think he's worth the pick here. Texans go Juwan Taylor, the next best offensive lineman. They are another team that needs offensive linemen. So Juwan Taylor's been a riser on my board. I like him a lot. Raiders go Brian Burns, edge rusher, Florida State. Had him getting an interior D lineman, now an edge rusher. So the interior guy I had him getting was Ed Oliver. That pairs with Maurice Hurst for the future. Burns is going to pair with Arden Key for the future. I actually think similar skill sets with Key and Burns. Burns is a tough one. His tape is better than 24th overall, but considered a little undersized. But if you're undersized, you should be like a freak athlete. He's pretty athletic, but at times it looks like guys like, well, Josh Allen is more athletic. But guys like Josh Allen and Polite are bigger and more athletic, so it's tough, And from Florida State edge rushers in the past and really now, you're not really sure where they're going to play. They're more of a 4-3 and 3-4 outside linebacker. How would they do? They haven't really turned out, as good as people would think. But Burns' tape is excellent. I like him a lot, but there is some concerns I think teams will come up with, and it's in the back of my mind at the same time. So, but again, you're at pick 24. I'm trusting the tape especially when you're down here. A little too good to pass here, and you get your pass rusher to pair with your D tackle. Eagles go Byron Murphy, corner Washington. They need a corner. They could use a pass rusher as well. Byron Murphy, more of a fit than DeAndre Baker, in my opinion. I could have Baker ahead of Murphy maybe on the prospect rankings, but Murphy fits right here. I think they'll like him a lot. And the next pick will be Colts taking Akeem Butler. Butler I'm pretty high on. There is a concern, his quickness and really coming back to the ball, getting out of breaks. That it's actually a big concern, but on a list of traits for receivers, is that going to be really high? It's not going to be really low or anything. It's important, but it's not going to be super high. He does have speed. He shows the difference between speed and quickness. People think they're pretty close. This guy shows there's a big difference here, but he does have long speed, gets open, goes up and catches the ball. I think he fits the Colts perfect. If I'm sitting there, you got T.Y. Hilton, who can pretty much do it all, but he's more of the speedy guy. And then you got Butler, who goes deep and catches it over people. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of a way, way better version of Dontrell Inman, who actually started to pick it up for them. So I think they'll like him. At times I've seen Luck's interceptions where he'll kind of just bomb it downfield. And really, you need somebody to go up and get it in those situations, and I think Butler's the guy. It makes a lot of sense to me. Not saying that it'll actually happen. Raiders go Josh Jacobs, running back Bama, the best running back in the class. They can use one. Didn't have him getting a receiver. They kind of came off the board here, so you could definitely get a solid one second round at this point. But if some of these guys that went just before him, they are on the board, they could take one of those receivers. But Josh Jacobs, he could be your starting running back right away. Chargers go Dexter Lawrence. They can use an interior D lineman. Could use a linebacker as well. I went with Dexter Lawrence here, best available in those positions. Chiefs go DeAndre Baker. Could use a corner, could use a safety. Take the best available out of those. I like DeAndre Baker there. Kind of brings them what they're missing there at corner, is, a more physical guy. The Packers taking O'Shane Ximenez, a guy I recently watched. Everyone, we've heard of him if you know the draft because, what he's produced on the field. But, after I got to watch him a little more, I'm impressed. Freakish dude. I think he can go late first here. I think it's what the Packers need. I had him taking Rashawn Gary to play that end spot. I think Ximenez will play the outside linebacker spot here. I like him a lot. If he gets in the right coaching staff and learns from the NFL, learns in the NFL, I think he can be a freak. Patriots take Kyler Murray. Now, this is the one I don't think is going to happen. I can't stress that enough. I don't think this is going to happen. If I'm the Patriots sitting here, I say, why not? Let's take a chance. I think Murray has the talent. I don't really know where he fits exactly. That's my problem with him. I think he has the talent. I think some people do overreact on him, maybe a little high on him, but he's very good. Similar situation to Lamar Jackson. Not the same quarterback at all, but the number one thing about Lamar Jackson, number one trait or what he had was he's kind of a nightmare to game plan against. It's a guy you don't really want to game plan or play against. I think Murray really has that same situation going. I guess it's because of his speed, his ability to move around. And, usually those guys don't have the strongest arm, but guys like Lamar Jackson and Murray have pretty strong and accurate arms. So if I'm the Patriots, I'm saying why not? Let's see. I think Brady will be back next year. Let's have him help Murray out. What Murray's missing, Brady has a whole lot of. So, I would say why not here? You don't really have the biggest needs. You need to try to get Trey Flowers back. You could go edge rusher. You could go defensive tackle. You can get a solid one in the second round. You can't get Kyler Murray when your next pick is. So I'm saying why not here? Let's give it a chance. You could come up with something scary here for the future. And the Rams go Jerry Tillery, defensive lineman, Notre Dame. They may lose Sue, but Tillery actually is a poor. It's going to sound like I don't think he's good because I'm going to say very poor Aaron Donald, but I think Aaron Donald's that good. I mean, everybody knows he's that good. Tillery has a little bit of that in him, so I think he can play opposite of Donald, and that could be scary. The Rams could have something good there. So, and I do think he's worth a first-round pick. You see him do multiple things: rush the passer, play inside, stop the run. Actually, you've seen him drop back and kind of sit almost like a spy, kind of sit there. Where you expect the linebackers to be. So pretty athletic for his size, can do a whole lot. So that's my GM mock. Again, not a predict the pick. Don't think a lot of this will happen, but it's fun to do. Mainly we have predict the pick mocks. That's what everyone's wants to see. What I think I do best here is just evaluating the players. My goal. I would like to predict every pick and those predict a lot right. But we like surprises. I like the surprises in the draft. And my goal is to be right on the player evaluations. I believe I do a good job on that for the last several years. So these are just pretty fun to do and kind of give you an idea how what I think of these players. Nothing official yet. A lot of these have to do with fits too. Nothing official. Going to get a big board and prospect rankings, as this process goes on. Because those are some things I only like to do once really. And we're going to be live during the draft, so we'll be discussing, what players I like, if they fit where they went, how I like that pick. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll have, official big board and prospect rankings for everybody to see during all that, later in this process. So lots to get through between free agency and draft coverage. Can't wait for all that. Subscriber goal here at the Goat House is 20K. Please help us get there. Clicking the like button would be much appreciated as well. Don't forget to check out our Twitter. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everybody, for their support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.